Now there's an additional tax that, well, it's not additional. It's been around since the 30s in Ohio that I'm not sure most businesses recognize or understand how much it's hurting them. Joining me now is Justin Moeller. How are you, Justin?
Good, Doc. How are you today?
I'm doing fine. What is the group you're with?
My firm is Watson and Associates.
Okay, and you're a CPA.
That's correct. I'm a member of the Ohio Society of CPAs.
What is the Ohio use tax? We've talked about when it comes to the casinos, the cat tax, and that. What is the use tax in Ohio?
The use tax is essentially the same tax as the sales tax. The difference is the sales tax is charged by the vendor. The use tax applies when you go to the store when a business purchases an item and the vendor does not charge them sales tax. Well, that does not mean the tax shouldn't apply. If they haven't charged you sales tax, the business is supposed to pay the use tax on that transaction.
Why would they not charge you a sales tax? Would it be on something that is not sales taxable?
Sure. Well, yeah, let me give you a couple examples. One example, and probably the most, the easy example to explain is an out-of-state vendor. There are certain rules that require an out-of-state vendor that would require them to charge the tax in Ohio. So if they do not have a physical presence in Ohio, they're not required to charge the tax. So, for example, let's say that you bought a computer online, okay, that's directly shipped into your Ohio facility for use in your business. That vendor may not have charged you sales tax because they were not required to. That does not relieve you as a business owner to pay that tax, and that's when the use tax applies. All
right, so a lot of this is really becoming increasingly a problem because of the online shopping.
That's exactly right. And not only, that's the low-hanging fruit. I would refer to that as the low-hanging fruit.
The easy stuff to understand?
Yeah, the easy stuff to understand. But in Ohio, there's numerous transactions where tax could apply. And I'll give you one simple example. So let's say that you use a service provider to do your landscaping services at your business facility in Ohio. Well, that may be a small provider. They may not realize that that's a taxable service, and they're required to charge you sales tax on that service. Well, just because they may not be familiar with the tax laws and understanding that their service is taxable, that does not relieve you as a business owner the responsibility to accrue and pay that use tax to the state of Ohio.
Would it also be a situation, let's say I forgot to charge you a sales tax, then it's essentially I got to make it up as the business owner too?
That's exactly right. Exactly right.
Wow, this is increasingly interesting and important because we've got that sales tax. I didn't realize. I left the state for a couple of years. I grew up in Ohio, was here for most of my life. I left for a while, and I didn't realize that a few years back they passed the cat tax here. And this has become more important because, and I bet most people didn't even realize it, because of the casinos and what the governor, he's basically using that as leverage to get more money out of the casino deal. So, yep. But the cat is really like a VAT tax that they have in Europe, and those things are insidious. They nail you every step of the way. And although it's nice that, people go, we raised a lot of money to pay for services, we've got sales tax and use tax and a cat tax on top of all the other taxes.
Municipal income taxes, school district income taxes. Currently, the state of Ohio has an estate tax, which is hopefully going to be repealed as part of the upcoming budget. But you're absolutely correct.
I think this, as we go forward, this is going to be one of my hot issues that I'm going to try to stay on, and I hope all Ohioans, regardless of your political beliefs and how much money you think we ought to be taxed as a total, and whether or not we should have high taxes in order to provide services and all of these different things, I think most of us should be able to agree that we need tax simplification. We don't need taxes coming from all of these areas. All it does is make it confusing and allows them to, I think, slide one by us so we don't know what we're truly being taxed.
Yeah, it makes it very difficult for business owners to, one, understand the tax laws, but two, even more importantly, to just be able to comply with those laws. Very difficult. Yeah,
so even if you're an upstanding person and you're like, listen, I want to make sure I don't want any trouble here, I'm going to pay all of my fair taxes, it's really confusing.
It's extremely confusing, extremely confusing.
Well, you as a CPA probably recognize, too, that every couple of years during tax time, some big news outlet, Fox or ABC or whoever, will do a story. They will pull out somebody and have all of their tax information, and they send them to 10 different tax providers, and they get 10 different answers back of what this person should be filing.
That's absolutely correct. The tax laws are complicated, and they're interpreted in many different ways.
It doesn't need to be that way, Justin. I'm serious. That by itself, and it's really drastic swings, from the first to the 10th person that figures out the person's taxes and files them for them in those stories. You're talking, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars if they have a high income. It doesn't need to be that way. We could simplify some of this.
I agree completely.
So what should Ohio businesses be concerned about? This use tax been around since the 30s. What is their obligation going forward? What should they look for?
Well, I'll tell you, what makes it even more important right now is that the Ohio Department of Taxation is undertaking an outreach program to educate over 300,000 small businesses that they likely have a use tax responsibility. In today's modern world of technology, it makes it much easier to identify those companies that do not have a use tax account. For example, if a company has employees, they have an Ohio withholding payroll account. They have to withhold, payroll taxes for your employees. Likewise, we talked about the commercial activity tax. That's a very broad-based tax. All businesses that have over $150,000 in gross receipts in the state of Ohio are required to have a commercial activity tax. What the department has been able to do through their technology is identify those businesses that have maybe one or more accounts, an Ohio withholding account, a sales tax account, a commercial activity tax account, and then determine whether you have a use tax account. And if you don't, guess what?
You
need to have one. So what they're going through right now is a process to help educate small businesses that this tax has been around since the 30s. They're sending letters. They are projected to send over 300,000 letters beginning August 1st to start educating these small businesses. And our recommendation is pay attention to this. This is not going to go away. If you get this letter, you need to do something. You need to react. You need to get your prior year taxes cleaned up, because if you don't, in the end, it will cost you a lot more in terms of tax dollars, penalties, fines, interest, and just the internal cost of capturing data from 7 to 10 years back from your prior year purchases.
So really, rather than have just one or two of these, if you're not going to set up the use tax and all of those accounts, it's better to have none. I mean, really, you just go ahead and completely scam this. Probably not the best attitude, is it?
I was going to say, as a CPA, that's obviously not my advice, but in terms of being identified by the Department of Taxation,
you'll be nailed, yeah.
Right.
So how are they when you say they're taking on this program to educate business owners about this? What are they doing to educate business owners? Are they having classes? Is it an online thing? Or are they just marketing it?
It's actually all of the above. If you actually go to the Ohio Department of Taxation's website, right on their front page, right in the very center, they have a link to their education program. It's called the UTEP, UTEP, Use Tax Education Program. If you click on that link, it will talk about all the things. It gives you a high-level summary of what the use tax is, the type of transactions it may apply to, the reporting period. That gives you a whole lot of good information. So that's on their website. Not only are they is information available on the website, they're traveling throughout the state, having conferences at local chambers and so forth to get the word out.
Justin, I'm laughing at this. It's great information, you're right, but something just occurred to me. So they're going through all of this effort. And that is going to cost, I would guess, a lot of money to educate the businesses. So they have created this system which costs us a lot of money, which is a ridiculous system. And instead of trying to streamline it and legislators saying, let's simplify it, let's do what we can now, they're spending more money to just educate people about it. I would think the better system, let's just come up with a better system.
Well, I'm not sure if I disagree with that.
All right, very good. I understand. All right, well, thanks, Justin Moeller, for educating us on this. Justin Moeller of Watson & Associates. Appreciate you joining me today, sir.